bit of it. And welcome to episode 102 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, executive or director of operations. I'm not executive editor. That's you, Todd. I'm director of operations, Sean Hani. I'm joined by executive editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I have some static, it sounds like, so that's why we're a little confused what's going on here. But,
apparently, I just changed my role in the company. Anyway. So, sorry about missing last week. We had a lot of meetings going on, getting ready for various things, and it just wasn't going to work out. And Todd had to go flying down to Florida to play with VR.
Yeah, I was down there checking out one of Universal parks in Orlando. New Halloween experiences, and it uses VR. You can check it out on the site.
That did make me laugh when John made the joke about he has to fly somewhere to play with virtual reality. Kind of true.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
So, of course, this week, the big event that we're going to be focusing on for most of the day. And if you do want to send us questions, please tweet them at TB Show Podcast on Twitter. But the big thing we're going to be discussing this week is, of course, the Google event that happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot to be talked about there.
Yeah, there's a ton. I think we could break it down into Google Assistant, the Pixel phones, which it includes the 5-inch Pixel and the 5.5-inch Pixel XL. Google Home, which is like their Amazon Echo competitor. Google Wi-Fi, which is sort of like a new version of Google On Hub. I don't know, a totally kind of different wireless experience for home. Actually, it's not. Other companies make similar things, but it's new for Google. And let's see, those are probably the big ones. Am I missing something? Probably missing something. We didn't see like Andromeda though, which is supposed to be the Chrome OS / Android hybrid. They kind of left Nexus owners in the dust, but that's being kind of killed off. Nexus, they're not going to have any new Nexus devices. We can get into that. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that we need to address is the Nexus situation.
Yeah.
Because it is looking like Nexus is done, and you did the report yesterday on the tweets that they sent out. Did you ever get a reply from Google about that?
No, Google didn't respond. I actually asked. So, backstory, I was wondering, so Google announced Pixel and Pixel XL yesterday, and they're running Android 7.1 Nougat, which has Google Assistant built in, which is sort of like a smarter Google Now for everything. It's kind of like Google On Tap plus Google Now mixed with each other. You still say OK Google, and it's very similar to what we already saw in Google Allo, the chat app. In any case, it's a new advanced AI. And the news is sort of like, well, it's coming to these Pixels, but not once did Google mention Nexus yesterday. And after the event, there was a Twitter account that said like, oh, we're still going to like support you guys. We're still going to have software updates. But basically, we got quotes later. Basically, Nexus is dead moving forward. They're not going to have new Nexus devices. It's all Pixel. Which, well, there's two sides to this story. First, I said yesterday, you left everybody out in the cold. Google, like, what the heck? Your biggest fans were the folks buying these Nexus devices, right? The ones that wanted pure Android. They were following Google. Now you're not giving them this update right away. Instead, it's like, oh, buy these Pixel phones, and Nexus. We're not even going to mention you guys. We're just going to leave you out there in the cold, which is crazy to me because when Google sold those devices, 6P and 5X, and before that, it was always like, and we've reported this. These are the devices that you're going to pretty much guarantee get the latest version of Android. Like that's why you buy them. And sure, they got Nougat, Android 7.0, but a little late, in fact, this year. They were delayed. And then, now there's nothing on, presumably Android 7.1 is coming to that and Google Assistant, but there was no news on when, which is just mind-blowing to me. So it's almost like Google's like, oh, you know what, never mind. Just buy the Pixel phones. And, like, they're starting, there were tweets that were saying, like, back in 2000, 8 years ago, we launched the first Nexus. Now today, we're launching Pixel, and in 8 years we'll look back and see that this is like sort of the advancement that we made with Nexus. But you can't just I guess they did do this, but you can't just leave people like. And again, these are their biggest fans. You can't just be like, oh, never mind, buy Pixel instead, and this is what we're moving forward with, which is what they did. And I said, this is a fatally flawed idea anyway. I think on the surface, this is a report I wrote today, but on the surface, it sounds like they're trying to compete with Apple, right? With the two phones, Google hardware. I mean, they say it's Google hardware, HTC built the phones, but it's like, by Google. And it's almost like they want to start with a clean slate. Like they've never had a Google phone before, which isn't true. The G1 was marketed as a Google phone way back when. So were the first Nexuses. The Nexus one, which was also built by HTC actually, and so was the G1. So in any case, now Google's competing not only with itself, sort of, because it's got these angry fans that have the Nexus 6P and all those that aren't getting this update right away. It's also competing with all the OEMs that it's always, they're considered partners, so Samsung and Huawei and LG and all these folks with its own hardware, own software that is distinguishing now Google from other versions of Android, so you have additional fragmentation. And you look at this and you're like, this is the wrong way to do it compared to like Apple. And I'm not fanboying here, I'm just laying out the facts. Apple has single platform, it competes with Android, it updates its own devices, and it updates devices that are oftentimes, 3-4 years old, older than that sometimes. And I just feel like this is the wrong way for Google to try to get a new platform off the ground. Like, who's gonna support you and trust you when you just left Nexus to die?
Well, I've brought this up before in reference to Google. They get super excited about something. Oh, we're launching this product. It's great. Everybody come over and use it. And a couple of years later, yeah, we're bored with that. We're moving on.
Exactly. Like, you just like, how can you be trusted? How can Google be trusted? And
exactly. I mean, of all the products they announced yesterday, the only one that I personally, and I'm speaking strictly from the viewpoint of Sean Ani, not from TechnoBuffalo, but the only product that I feel safe about is Google Wi-Fi, because it's a router. They can't do much to it. And I like the idea, of, yes, I know there's been Wi-Fi repeaters for eons, but this seems like a more seamless system. So that I'm interested in, but I think I walked away from yesterday going, I don't know if I can really trust Google.
Yeah, well, and not even on just its hardware, but then you go into all its AI, and it's these products, Google Home, Wi-Fi, the smartphones, everything is Google Assistant. Everything I talked about yesterday is AI, and in order for the AI to work, it needs all the information it can get about you. Google Home is always listening, it's always on. The speaker, which is kind of freaky. Amazon Echo is sort of, very similar. It's always waiting for, hey Alexa. Well, I don't have one up here, so it's safe to say it. I was afraid to say it. But, it needs all this information from you. And my fear is that Google doesn't put privacy and security at the top of the list as it says it does. Like yesterday, it was like, oh, and of course we're putting privacy first. But I'm not so sure I believe that, because if you look at Google Allo, chat app that was released 2 weeks ago, it has end-to-end encryption turned off by default, so that the bots and the learning assistant and everything can work. That doesn't mean that privacy is at the top. It shows very clearly that AI is at the top, and then privacy comes second. You have to turn on end-to-end encryption because AI won't work with it, and so that's going to filter down, I think, into all these products. The same kind of mentality running around the home, and something about me just doesn't. I'm not sure. Especially in light of the news yesterday that Yahoo gave, the government access to all of its email was going through that. I'm not sure I'm ready to trust these companies anymore, especially just sort of living in my house. And Google's already knows enough about me. Android user, Chrome user, everything. I don't know. Something just pushes me the wrong way.
No, I agree. I mean, honestly, I've thrown any concept of privacy out the window years ago. I mean, I've been on the internet in some way, shape, or form since 1986. I mean, everyone that wants to know anything about me doesn't have to look too darn hard
yeah, that's
to find it. And heavens knows that all these companies have more data on me than they could ever hope to. It's ridiculous. But I don't know. Google Home didn't excite me that much. A lot of it being the music situation, because they were talking all about, this subscription service and that subscription service. And yes, I do pay for Amazon Prime. That does, provide a lot of the music to my Echo. I'm trying to remember what name I have her set to. To my Echo, so, and plus my personal music that I've uploaded to the Amazon systems. So, okay, fine. I can ask the Home a bunch of questions. Okay. I'm not that excited. I can, pick up my phone too and do okay Google.
Yeah, that's what I actually found to be really weird. Is they were like, you can ask Home, like directions to a restaurant or something, right? And find out how to get there by bike and how long it's going to take, or by car or whatever. But not yet. The feature to send it to your phone isn't built in yet, which just doesn't make any sense. Like that's a prime. Like, why wouldn't you just have that? Because that's exactly what you're going to go do next. Yeah. You're going to get in your car with your phone.
Yeah. So.
So then you've got to get in your car and ask for directions again. It's like they said that feature is coming, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Why it's not a launch feature makes no sense. But. Yeah. So let's. I'm going to say let's start, but I mean we've already pretty much started. But let's go back to the big guns of the show, the devices everyone was waiting for, the Pixel and the Pixel XL. Mm-hmm. I'm going to defer to you on this one simply because you're the mobile guy. I walked away unimpressed.
Yeah, so did I. And to be fair, I didn't see them in person. John did, and John was impressed, I think.
And disclaimer, as always, this is not the official Techno-Buffalo review, yada, yada.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a good possibility I'll pick one up and be like, damn, this is really nice. But, yeah, I was...
Wait, you pick up a phone?
Yeah. And no, but I didn't buy it. I did not buy it, and I currently do not have plans. I already used my upgrades. If you've been listening to the show, on enough of the iPhones. I finally returned all the ones I don't need. So I have my two phones right now that are my only upgrades are the Note 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus. So those are my primary devices. I'm not going to go out and buy a $900 phone right now off contract. Which is the other surprising thing. Prices, right? They weren't as low as
prices were way higher than I expected.
Expensive, which is fine. They look like premium devices, aluminum and stuff like that. But the storage options kind of threw me off. 32 gigabytes and only 128 on the other end. So it's just like, that's very polarizing. 32 gigs is not enough for me. But the specs all look great. I mean, Snapdragon, they had 821, I think, right? Yeah. Quad HD display on the larger one, which will work with Daydream View, the new VR system. All of this sounds very fun and cool, and I can't wait to check out the VR system because I like your VR a lot. But they have headphone jacks, which was funny. Another mention they were jabbing Apple everywhere they could yesterday.
Yeah, it got a little heavy-handed, I thought. Yeah.
But the highlight, I think, is the software, which is Google Assistant, where you can do this with Siri too, which I think was kind of misunderstood yesterday. It didn't seem like a lot of people caught on, but you could say directions to downtown LA, wherever, find a restaurant nearby. Siri can do some of those things. You can say find me a Chinese food restaurant, and it'll come up and say here's the nearest one. And then you could say okay, and then book a reservation, keep going deeper and deeper. And that's sort of this generation of AI, right? It's not just one result, it's digging further and further into the results, so you're having a conversation with the AI. And that's what was particularly interesting about Google's version yesterday. We're finally seeing that come to life in Android. And you can do it for everything from, like I said, booking a restaurant, to directions, to texting somebody, calling somebody, anything. I don't know. I think that's probably the highlight of what we saw. The hardware, I didn't see anything that distinguishes these devices from anything else on the market. In fact, the cameras don't have OIS, optical image stabilization, which I thought was silly, but they do have the DxO Mark, the highest score you can get, which is what HTC's been touting. They did this with the HTC 10. I'm not sure, I'm convinced this really matters. The Galaxy S7 Edge and Galaxy Note 7, ask anybody, they have probably the best cameras on the market, besides DxO. mark. And then the iPhone 7, iPhone 7 Plus are great too. So I think end of the day, this is probably a great camera, just like those. But I am worried about not having optical image stabilization. I think that's just a silly omission. And it's no wonder, they're bragging about the not having a camera bump, and it's no wonder why, right? Like, because you need that kind of bump to have the stabilizer in there to keep the lens solid. So I things like that, it looks like first-class hardware, but then there's just these weird things that aren't there. Oh, they're not water resistant. So every phone, Samsung, the S7, Edge, the Note, the iPhones are water resistant. These are IP53, which means you can't really just drop it in the pool or anything. And I just think that's funny not to have that on such an expensive device now. I mean, like every other flagship has that rating.
This is a very small thing, but did you notice that they made a big mention about, and look at the rounded icons, and they didn't show us any third-party icons?
No, I didn't notice that.
So I'm wondering if devs are all going to have to design rounded icons just for the pixels.
No, it should work because I have the Action Launcher, which I love. I wrote about this the other day. If you want the features early, like I put it on my Note 7, so you can see like the Google Pill kind of search thing and the rounded icons, and they're already supported here.
Okay.
So I imagine, you can just go right. The default is a rounded icon.
Okay, I heard.
Like it, I think it looks crowded. I don't know. Maybe you get used to it.
I thought that was funny. I was like, okay, show us some third-party icons. Oh, look, they're not.
Yeah. No, I think it should be good. I don't see, as a Note 7 owner, I don't see like a reason to go out and buy this phone. And I think previously it was like, oh, you want pure Android, you buy this phone. You can see like sort of the, you were a purist and you were like maybe a developer or something like that. Now Google's trying to go after consumers, and it left those people, like that's what just, it irks me that they left, Nexus 6P owners and those in the dust here. And I think this should have been sort of, these features, all of it, the software should have been available to them. And then this might have been just better hardware on the Pixel. And it's like, okay, now we're going to take it further, but we're not leaving you guys behind. There's nothing that distinguishes it for me aside from the software.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's worth, dropping $900 on. There's better phones.
I know. I on the phone front, I walked away unexcited. The Google Home, interesting, but not enough there to get me to change from the Echo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For sure. New Chromecast. Yeah,
the Chromecast. That's just sort of like, I was surprised at the price actually, $69. But everybody's adding 4K and HDR support. They have Dolby. What they have? Dolby
Atmos, I think.
Yeah, but so that's finally coming to Chromecast, which is good. And I shouldn't say finally because the Apple TV doesn't have these things yet either. I'm not sort of saying it, but in general, and we've talked about this a million times, we usually prefer sort of the Roku stuff. And I just feel like the pricing could be a little difficult for some people who are used to Chromecast being $30. But maybe not. Maybe people are like, oh, that's fine.
I'm not going to race out and buy a new Chromecast.
Yeah, me neither.
But
I'm not running out and buying the new Rokus either. So.
Yeah, I did like the idea that you could speak to home and say, play such and such on my television. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, but it only supports YouTube right now.
Right now, yes. They did say Netflix support was coming, but still not enough to make me go out and buy a home and a new Chromecast and everything else.
Yeah.
So let's see. There was the phones. There was the Chromecast, Google Home.
I'm telling you, these ecosystems are getting too expensive, though, because you can't just especially for us, as a user of all these platforms, I can't possibly go out and buy all of this, and be
I know. And the whole problem is that when each platform starts off, you're promised so much, and you're like, okay, this is the platform I'm going to go with, and then 6 months later, there's another platform.
Yeah. And they've said this is what we're adding because we need to add features. It's like when Philips Hue added Siri support, you need to buy a new base station. And I was like, there's another $60. What the heck, So, but I did buy it because I wanted to be able to use it with my phone.
I was happy that Google Wi-Fi will work with. I did buy the On Hub. When they were on stage, they didn't mention that it would work with the On Hub, so I was really nervous that I was like, okay, great, I'm going to have to buy all new equipment. And they sent out an email yesterday saying, no, it works with the On Hub. So I'm like, okay, aces. I'll probably end up picking up a couple of the little pucks. Yeah. You know, I've got such a mishmash of Wi-Fi in my house. It's ridiculous. You know, and it would be nice to. It would be nice to cut down. I think I'm up to 3 routers. I don't know. It'd be nice to cut back on the number of routers in my house.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Oh, okay. Wait, which Wi-Fi router is the printer connected to? You never know.
It's true. I mean, in my house, I have like my lights connected to one, and if you want to be local and control it on your phone, unless like I'm using HomeKit through the Apple TV, but if you want to be local and using your phone, you got to be connected to the same Wi-Fi network for it to work most of the time. And I know what you're saying. You're like, oh, but which TV or which network is this TV connected to, and yada yada yada. It would be nice to do something like that. But
yeah, exactly. So
and I think it's about time that they made. Google's doing this. A couple other companies are doing it, but make it Wi-Fi so much easier for consumers because it's been awkwardly hard, and obviously that's bad for security. And people aren't paying attention to what's going on if it's hard.
Am I forgetting any products they announced yesterday? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean the big things were Google Assistant, the phones, the Wi-Fi, Google Home, and we didn't talk too much about Home, but basically, it's like a speaker. I think the thing is it was already announced, so now they just talked about pricing. I think it's coming out like November 4th and $100 and something bucks.
We've got a question from Tech Ethic. Why didn't Google release a Google Nexus 7 like EvLeaks said they would? First off, Evan, for those that don't know, EvLeaks is Evan Blass, who has done an amazing job of, hunting down leaks well before products are announced. And I think there's every possibility that there was some sort of 7 running around and they just decided not to do it. Companies develop things all the time that never see the light of day.
Yeah, or it's still in development and it's called.
Yeah,
because we know there's no more Nexus products. That's what they said.
So right. So it may be being rebranded. It may have been far into development when they decided to kill the Nexus brand. I mean, I always go back to toys, but I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've seen pictures of toys or even seen the prototypes at like Toy Fair, and the toys were never released.
Yeah, or like remember all the Windows phones and tablets that were like sort of coming, and then Microsoft's last minute decisions to sort of bail on that kind of stuff.
Right,
a lot of stuff was killed, and you're like, oh,
remember during that Apple and Samsung court case when all those Apple prototype pictures came out?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, how many versions of the iPad were there that we had never seen before?
Clunky looking ones.
There were some that looked more like weightlifting, platters than anything else. But yeah. From Brazen Franco, do you think the Pixel's color name came out of a Doge meme? You have to wonder. There were some just call it black, blue, and silver.
Yeah. I guess you and I are kind of numb to all that. When we report on phones and their colors, we've broken it down to just being like it's gonna most of the time like it'll be available in like a blue, red, and light blue or something, But the names are always weird, just like snow crimson or like what?
Right. So, yeah.
These names didn't seem as shocking, but really blue I thought was kind of funny.
From Tech Ethic, also, why don't you accept questions from the YouTube live chat? It's not anything against the YouTube live chat. I just don't have enough windows to keep track of everything. I will see if I can figure out a way to configure my screens so I can see it as well. I will be happy to do that. I have 3 screens and it's still not enough real estate. But I will look into doing that for future episodes. But yeah, I guess I fear that I'm becoming jaded, but I really don't think I am. I think companies are just. I almost wonder how much customer research they're actually conducting, they seem to keep coming out with products that do have some innovation to them, but they're not anything that anyone's asked for.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of that. But I think a lot of companies too try to do what Steve Jobs used to say, like, they want to give you something you don't even know you need yet or want yet. But this is, I wrote this today. I don't understand how we went from Nexus to Pixel and why. Like, I think what Google is trying to do, and part of this is probably because I wasn't there. Like, I didn't get to talk with the product manager and engineer. It was like, hey, this is what happened. This is what we're doing, or getting background on it. But I think it's like, what was wrong with Nexus? Did consumers at some point think like, oh, that's not for me? Like, that's like advanced Google stuff, or like, did they not get it? And so now it's Pixel, and it's very much like, the change was last year with Nexus, you had like Huawei was still very involved, right? And LG was very involved. In fact, you could buy the 6P direct from Huawei. This year, like, HTC is so behind the scenes, it's not on the phone. Like, so far, I don't see any mention of HTC selling it directly. So it's like, okay, I get that. So you've made it this like very consumer focused Google product. The way like Apple has an iPhone, Google's got a Pixel phone. So I get that. But now what? Now what is different? Like, where before you at least had developers and like enthusiasts buying your phone, now you don't, like, is this for developers or not? I don't know. I guess so. I guess because there's no Nexus, right? So I guess that's who this is for. But as for the hardcore people, like, maybe how many of them are so furious because of yesterday? They're like, okay, forget this. Or are they saying, oh, okay, whatever, then I'll move along with you and I'll buy the Pixel, which is very possible too. I mean, a year later, phone enthusiasts buy more than one phone a year, I think, if they can afford it. So I think they're probably just being, all right, this is where we're going. But now what's changing? Like, okay, we have Verizon as an exclusive carrier. That's a terrible idea, just having one carrier. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I thought those days were long gone.
Yeah, they should be. And then it's unlocked at Best Buy. Project Fi wasn't mentioned, like, hardly at all yesterday, but these do support Project Fi.
Yeah, it was like a one set, and it's the latest Project Fi phone. Moving on.
Yeah, and that was once like a pretty big highlight, and I still love Project Fi. I think it's a great network to use Sprint and T-Mobile combined, and the prices are right. Global roaming is awesome. But anyway, so it's not quite like a Project Fi. I mean, it is, but it's not like highlighted as one. So, like, who is this for? When someone walks into a store like a Best Buy, are they going to be like, oh, I need that new Pixel phone I saw on TV? Like, I'm not so sure. I think they might be like, oh, I want a Samsung phone or an LG phone or whatever, and maybe they'll look at the Pixel phone too. If they are going in and saying it's a Pixel phone, then what is Google doing to its partners? Like, saying, oh, don't buy these phones from these guys. They have old software. We have the new stuff. Like, that's a problem, and it's a problem for fragmentation because, I wrote today, the Note 7, like, when is this thing going to get Android 7.1 and Google Assistant? Like, a year from now, probably, if I'm lucky.
Right.
So, that's another problem. It's just like, what is their thinking? Like, they're not going to sell millions of these things like Apple does an iPhone because people buy iPhones because they're upgrading from an iOS device to an iOS device or getting the newest iOS. Like, this is, you don't move from, like, Samsung just to another Samsung. Sometimes you might move to an LG or a Google, and so now they're competing with all of their existing partners. This is Google, competing with Huawei and LG and Samsung and OnePlus for that matter, who's undercutting it now by a couple $100. And it's competing with Apple and the iPhones. I just don't understand the strategy.
For those that are wondering, yes, I while Todd was talking, I was listening to him. I figured out a way to reconfigure everything. I can now see the YouTube chat. It's not the most ideal layout, but I can actually see it. I see Stern Fan, and they're saying this is the last show for me unless they start doing questions here. Well, thank you for the threat, Stern Fan. Yeah. But yes, I can now see the YouTube chat, and I will try to remember to do that from now on. Except now I see Todd in a very little box up in the corner.
Yeah, we need a little box.
Yeah, I'm putting you in a box. Deal with it. That's where you belong. Anyway, I don't know. We're going into the end of the year. Nobody's blown my socks off like they used to. Is it a matter of we're becoming jaded, or is it a matter of these companies are just?
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. Like, nobody's really blown ourselves, kind of. But a couple of phones that I really liked. OnePlus 3 was like the big one, and I really love the Note 7. It just has like this sour taste in everybody's mouth because it caught fire, which is so unfortunate. But I think
I'm sorry, exploding phones tend to sour people's opinions.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's so unfortunate. But I got the replacement, and I still love it. And then the iPhone's like, it's another iPhone. It's a great iPhone, but it's another iPhone, and I agree with you there. It's kind of like, anybody with an iPhone 6 and newer probably doesn't need the 7. So that's kind of the thing too. It's like all these phones, like what's really changing, and I think that's why. I mean, Samsung is pretty cool because I love Samsung Pay, which is like magic. Still, the camera's been really kick-ass. Pardon me, kick butt. We can note that out. And
I think we can live with that word.
Yeah, and the iris scanner and stuff is just fun. It works well. So I feel like and not to mention displays, like Samsung still kind of pushes the border a little bit, and pushing the border into hardware a little bit more than I think we've seen other people do, or other companies do. So I think that's why the Note 7 was exciting. But yeah, I kind of feel like Pixel and Pixel XL are very meh.
Yeah. We have a question from Tech Ethic. So you can see this. Cool. Yes, I can. Do you think it was a good idea for Blackberry to stop doing phones? And that is actually something we haven't addressed yet. For those that don't know, Blackberry is stopped making their own phones. They're just going to focus on their software and license it out to other companies. My question is, who in their right mind is going to make a Blackberry phone?
Well, no, BlackBerry's still going to... The phones are still going to be BlackBerry branded. It's still going to be a BlackBerry, but it's going to be the same way like Foxconn built the BlackBerry Classic, for example, just like Apple has Foxconn build the iPhones. And the D-Tech 50 was built by Alcatel. That's why it's pretty much the exact same phone as the Alcatel Idol 4. So basically,
gotcha.
It's outsourcing some of this to I think it was an Indonesian company, but it's just going to follow that path more. So we're not going to see like unique. Okay. I don't think we're going to see unique BlackBerry designs, but we're still going to see QWERTY keyboards and stuff like that. So I think for most people, it was sort of like blown out of proportion a little bit. I think we're still going to see new Blackberries, but it's just not going to be like the same as before.
It's still at this point, this company, it's you just kind of want to walk over and put a gun to the horse's head. It's just
but on the other hand, I think maybe if we're talking about a company that's dying and it's probably looking for ways to save cash, it's probably why it's doing this. And that's probably why it did what it did. But yeah, it's just kind of like bleeding out at this point, right?
From George Rojas, tech has reached its plateau. Well, I think what you're saying is that everything always reaches a plateau. That doesn't mean, though, we've reached the summit.
Yeah,
by no means do I think we've reached the summit.
We're not even close. You got like AI, self-driving cars, smartphones are smarter than ever. We're wearing computers on our wrists. That doesn't make any sense.
I think the problem that we have is that these companies got so overzealous about, oh, there's a new processor, throw it in. Okay, there's a new this, throw that in. They release products so fast, they release them faster than technology development could keep up. That's just my theory off the top of my head. But I think that maybe if we weren't so stuck on this annual refresh cycle, maybe we would see a bit more innovation.
I think we're seeing so much innovation now in such a rapid pace, but the problem is it's happening so fast, people are blind to it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how far we've come. It's insane. But I feel like people are like, oh, it's to that point, right? Like it seems iterative because it is. It's like we're slowly going up this hill, and each product is building on the last one really, really quickly, right after another, right? Like we're stepping up, and it's nonstop. And so you look at the step behind you, and you're like, that's not very far. But if you look at back, down the floor, look how far we've come. I think that's the thing. Like we've just moved so quickly. I mean, just compare, a Galaxy Note to one 2 years ago, 3 years ago. 3 years is not that long. I think that's kind of, the thing. Like we're not seeing, I guess what we're not seeing, at least in the phone space, is like that crazy move we saw in 2007 from, Windows Phone to the iPhone. Like that was a pretty big jump. But that's not to say tech is dead. We're seeing those kind of moves in other places, like in wearables with what Samsung and Apple are doing, in cars with what Uber and Volvo and everybody is doing, and in the home with what Amazon and Google are doing. So I think it's spread out all over the place, and it's around us all the time. And it's kind of hard to see how far we've
come. Yeah, that is a good point as well. I'm still waiting for us to cover one of these events and for me to go, whoa! But
that's the thing. Yeah, I think the time of that is sort of in the past. I don't know how many times that's going to happen anymore. I mean, if somebody tomorrow unveiled a self-driving car that you could buy for $30,000, would you be that shocked? You'd probably be like, oh, yeah, I guess I saw this coming.
Yeah. The funny thing, I had a long talk with my father the other day, who I don't believe this has ever come up on the show. My father used to be a traveling salesman. He, in all of his years of driving, he drove like 1.2 million miles or something like that.
Wow.
And so we were talking about self-driving cars, and here I am. I'm just like, I can't wait. He's like, I'm never going to trust those things. He goes, you're going to have people that don't pay a bit of attention to the road when they're in them. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. You're not supposed to have to. But,
you're supposed to just enjoy the entertainment.
Exactly. From Tech Ethic, does John Rettinger ever come to the stream? He has in the past, long ago. The whole issue with John being on the show is time difference. Because he's on the Pacific time zone, I'm in the Central, Todd's on the East. It's a time zone mess. Hopefully, sometime when I'm out there in Irvine, we'll do a live show from the office. But again, it's a matter of timing and all that. But John is around, and I'm sure John will pop up on the live stream again at some point in the future.
Why don't you like us?
Yeah, we work hard on it. We've done this 102 times. Well, I've done it 102 times. You've done it probably like 100. I think Joey's been in here once or twice. But I don't know. I will say this. I'm kind of enjoying the way Amazon's been announcing stuff lately. Just like, here it is.
Yeah. They're like, there's not an event. They just put it's up for pre-order.
Yeah, I mean, we wake up in the morning, we get online. One of the first things I do every morning is, before I even get out of bed, I go to Amazon, I check the daily deals. And, I love just starting up Amazon going, oh, hey, new tablet. just out of nowhere, just kind of like there was a new Echo, there was a new tablet, there was the announcement today of the new reading feature.
Prime. Amazon Prime reading, whatever.
Yeah. From Mr. Sean, will the iPad and MacBook have no headphone jack? Who knows?
Well, the rumor about the new iPads, I think it was like spring 2017, by the way. So, you got a little while. Good time to buy an iPad, I guess. First off, there's supposed to be an iPad Mini Pro, which is kind of neat. This is from Mako Takara, I think. And then the report said they're keeping the headphone jacks, which is weird, I guess. Because you have Apple on one hand saying like, oh, you don't need a headphone jack. Oh, but you kind of do.
That is very odd. I do think we're finally going to get the new Macs here within the next couple of weeks, but
yeah, seriously, that's just getting weird.
Yeah, it's been so long now, but I mean, there's so many rumors swirling right now and leaked Best Buy pages and everything else.
And like Dell just updated their laptops, the XPS line with Kaby Lake. So I guess this is.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Apple's sometime this month we're going to see new Macs. I don't know if we're necessarily going to have an event.
Yeah,
but I do think we're going to wake up one morning and go, "Oh, look, new Macs! Yay! Finally!"
I'm excited about that MacBook Pro. I know it's a tangent a little bit, but we were talking about being bored. That sounds neat to see. Like if it's used properly, that little OLED screen above the keyboard that you can control stuff with or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just a gimmick.
I'm still waiting to see this bar in action.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing is too, unlike phone. Well, I guess like phones, these phones can be expensive. I don't buy a new MacBook every year. I think mine's only a year and a half old. That's not happening.
Yeah. I think I'm on 2011 here. I can't remember
good.
for
So
sure.
You're ready to go. I'm jealous.
Yeah. From Brazen Franco, do you think the next Pixel and Samsung devices will ditch the headphone jack after mocking Apple about it this year? More than likely, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see everybody sort of take that path. If there's if they notice there's not a lot of blowback and people are buying these iPhones anyway, et cetera, like they'll probably be like, oh, I guess maybe we can slim our phones down too, or we should try it. And I don't know. I feel like Apple might have done it if it sees the industry going that way anyway, and if the industry is going that way anyway, it's just going to happen. So,
yeah. Final question for the day from George Rojas. Since Google didn't mention it, do you think the Nexus 6P will get 7.1? We really don't know. The wording is so bizarre. We addressed this a little bit earlier in the episode. I mean, it talked about software updates. Well, we don't know if that means operating system updates or security updates. We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's what confused me. My guess is yes.
Same here.
I'm shocked it's not today, or yesterday, or when the Pixels go on sale. Maybe it will be. Maybe Google will prove us all wrong. But I have a feeling they would have said that was the case.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. Well, folks, that's going to bring this week's episode to a close. I do now have it figured out how I can watch the YouTube chat session at the same time. So next week we'll start from there, as well as on Twitter if you want to ask questions there.
I was going to leave if you didn't.
Yeah, I figured, Todd. I knew you'd threatened me already. But as always, you can head over to the iTunes store, and if you search on the TechnoBuffalo Show, you can find us. We do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on the Google Play Store. You can subscribe via RSS feed. You can find us on Pocket Casts. You can find us in the just about anywhere, including the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Until next time, I am the Director of Operations, Sean Awney. I've been joined by Executive Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next time, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.